I used to worship at the altar of Christine, but nowadays she appears all full of anger. Or at least we're meant to. What if the story we've all been led to believe is a beautiful lie, then? A cut version presented for our benefit, one that demonizes the females who built the family and mythologizes the female who acted like it didn't happen. Imagine viewing the rough, unedited footage. Would all your conclusions be called into doubt then? Millions of viewers have watched the Brown family drama, a story of religion, love, and polygamy, unfold over decades. But as time had hardened the rural utopia into a poisonous hellhole of recrimination and conflict, it had also overflooded into the courtroom. According to explosive insider reports obtained by TLC's sister wives Real News, a landmark lawsuit is underway, a public reckoning, a fight for truth, and a battle that could rewrite the story we've all been watching. Before we get into the explosive court documents and jaw-dropping evidence, I've got something you've got to do. If you suspect something more is going on behind the scenes than on TV, hit a like on this video. And if you're ready to get raw footage that will rock your cage, make sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell. Trust me, you won't want to miss an ounce of what's about to go down. The lawsuit, which was filed under seal but leaked to the inside people, is withering. In the Clark County District Court of Nevada, Christine Brown and Janelle Brown are suing Cody Brown, Robyn Brown, their joint production company Puddle Monkey Productions, and even TLC itself. The accusations are dire: defamation, libel, slander, and tortious interference with business expectancy, for $3 million in damages. But there is more to it than money. It's a coordinated, intentional campaign to destroy reputations, a public character assassination perpetrated not by strangers, but by family members. At the center of the complaint is a jaw-dropping accusation. Cody and Robyn allegedly employed their control of the show to methodically rig the character presentation of Christine and Janelle. According to the suit, Christine was portrayed as bitter, lazy, and emotionally unstable, while Janelle's independence and practicality were constructed as detachment or selfishness. Robyn, on the other hand, was constructed as patient victim, a saint victimized by her sister wives' jealousy. Short of it, as alleged in the suit, this wasn't reality TV, this was a hoax show, intended to inflate some and destroy the others. To look and see how far this allegedly manipulated drama went, let's take a step back. The early groundwork for the Brown family was laid. The initial wife, Mary, had her own unique role. Janelle was the responsible, budget-conscious anchor. Christine, friendly and caring, was the emotional glue that held the household together. They had 18 kids together and were one, showing the world that a multiple-wife family was viable. But the show evolved over time. The comings and goings of Robyn changed things. What began as a polygamy show became, the suit claims, a story of one man and his true love, burdened by the rest. Subtly at the beginning, the alleged slander was more and more overt, long shots, editing down, and context-free dialogue reduced to damning sound bites, all in service of casting Christine and Janelle in a negative light. Take Christine, for example. Her caring mom, friend, she was the victim. Her rational desire to draw the family closer to support networks was framed as betrayal. Her anxiety over Cody's disappearance had been framed to be whiny. Good evidence had been sliced, and only her distress and frustration were left to see. The heart of the family had become its villain. And then Janelle. Her interest in autonomy and security, once the cause of commemoration, were framed as selfishness and rebellion. The lawsuit alleges such occasions as the RV arc, where her utilitarian fixes were portrayed as rebellions. The raw footage, the filings claim, would demonstrate that the actual frustration was not with the rulings themselves, but with the potentiality that her liberty would intrude into Cody's control and onto Robyn's vision of himself as one wife who needed. This is not just a family squabble, it's an attempt to reveal the truth from the inside, to show the viewers how the disconnect between what actually happened and the very well-rehearsed one on TV. And what you are about to see might remake you in a forever kind of way about the Brown family saga. Janelle's calm, rational responses were also twisted into coldness. Her insistence that arguments should not be screamed was framed as indifference or lack of feeling. That was a strategic move, the suit alleges, downplay the authority of the most powerful women of the family in order to conjure up the ghost of the perpetual sole wife who needed everything. These were not true representations, they were constructed narratives. And the kicker here is, the suit alleges Cody and Robyn weren't just cast members, but effectively controlled the show from behind the scenes. As the show's popularity became more dependent on internal drama, their influence allegedly grew exponentially. They were allegedly granted de facto producer status, a privilege all but unknown in reality programming. What's that? It implies that the actors on screen were also within the editing room, reciting the story once the cameras ceased. Insiders refer to it as a chill process. Cody and Robyn allegedly had access to the dailies, the raw, unedited tape, and could sit in on editing sessions, giving directions like, use the take when Janelle is scornful. Cut Robyn's line there, have her sound calculating. Use the confession when she is crying instead. It was not storytelling. It was battle of public opinion, a deliberate attempt to eliminate Christine and Janelle and create Robyn and Cody as the sympathetic couple. The case illustrates that this manipulation was greater than personal reputation. In harming Christine and Janelle's reputations, it seemingly harmed their future earning potential, spin-offs, book sales, endorsements, everything that comes under the tortious interference claim. It was emotional, yes, but financial as well. But in a court, claims must be backed up by evidence. And, based on what sources indicate, Christine and Janelle have it, an hour-long raw, unedited video hard drive. The tipster? A veteran editor who had been working on Sister Wives for almost a decade. Horrified by the manipulation, this editor allegedly walked away from the show but replicated key scenes, taking the vast difference between what was made and what was broadcast. Identified only as John Doe in court documents, this tipster provided the material to attorneys, making rumor into courtroom record. One of the scenes the lawsuit cites is the now famous fight about Cody's strict CO protocols. On TV, Cody establishes rules, alcohol sanitizing mail, showering following a shopping excursion, and Christine protests. The cut scene makes her stubborn and unreasonable, forbidding Cody to visit their daughter Isabel before an operation for which she'll either live or die. The response online was immediate, reckless, irresponsible, bad mom. The uncut video is something else. Christine doesn't merely compare inequitably, no, that's crazy. She's a reasoning, fact-based argument, appealing to CDC protocol and insisting that the extreme action wasn't warranted. She insists that remaining behind science, not show, keeps the children safe without taking away family time. Cody, flabbergasted and without an argument to present, ostensibly storms away in outrage. The editorial board, however, chopped off all this background, and what was left was the picture of Christine as an angry, disloyal wife. Context eliminated, a villain was born. And that's just one of dozens of such similar events, the lawsuit alleges. Every carefully constructed scene was built on a larger story, one that wasn't rooted in fact but instead had an obvious agenda. What this case is revealing goes far beyond one family. It's a story of power, control, and the extraordinary role editing plays in shaping public opinion. The suit alleges another such moment, a family budget session. On television, viewers saw a threatening confrontation between the family's entire budget and the Coyote Pass land. Janelle appeared to be the sole holdout, opposing building immediately and talking of money woes. Cody's anger was in full bloom, and Janelle appeared selfish and unwilling to pay for the joint family fantasy. But the raw footage, the suit alleges, tells a very different tale. The unfiltered meeting has Janelle showing up with a binder, spreadsheets, and a carefully crafted budget proposal. She talks softly, "Cody, I want to build too. We all do. But check the numbers. Lumber costs are all-time high. Waiting 6 to 8 months would be 25% cheaper. We can't afford 4 construction loans without cutting out emergency funds. Let me put it another way, let us pay off this parcel first, perfect our debt-to-income ratio, and bargain for better terms. I've provided a 6-month plan." She didn't despise having to go further, she was the only one who had a sensible, down-to-earth plan of action. The program, though, edited all this setup and left the public with nothing other than her initial no and building the facade of obstruction. And what was the end result? Drama, ratings, and a made-up story of betrayal. This is defamation, the lawsuit alleges. In cherry-picking and taking scenes out of context, and leaving out crucial context, the defendants allegedly broadcast falsehoods before millions of people, injuring the reputations and earning potential of Christine and Janelle. Each of the manipulated scenes was another deliberate slap, intended to further Cody and Robyn's reputation at the expense of the other women. The most powerful explosive proof, sources say, is a whistleblower, an experienced editor who quit in anger over the manipulation. He copied key scenes, the jarring discrepancy between what was filmed and what was aired, before he quit. That hard drive, it was Exhibit A in the suit, was an editorial malpractice smoking gun. Raw footage turns a one-sided story into incriminating proof of intentional character assassination. There's that one scene, the infamous fight about Cody's CO draconian tactics. On TV, Christine was unreasonable, intransigent, and obstinate, refusing Cody access to their child Isabel. But the unedited video says it all. Christine presents a science-based, rational case based on CDC policy, why Cody's brutal methods were excessive and isolated the kids. Cody, shocked and speechless, loses it. The show took away all her excuses, with a lopsided presentation of disloyalty and outrage. It was selective editing, undoubtedly, but making up an entirely false narrative to sway the audience. The second breaking point had been one that occurred inside the courtroom. Christine and Janelle weren't just fighting for their names, they were assailing reality TV ethics. Robyn Brown's cross-examination in the trial had been the turning point. Robyn was questioned on oath by Janelle's feisty lawyer, the dynamic Ms. Davies, over her supposed controlling presence in the editing room. Robyn maintained that she had no control and just lived life on camera. But when on-camera montage footage, which captured Cody's independent decision-making and Christina's alleged divisiveness, was aired, it gave an unbalanced impression. And the clincher, raw tape, recorded an hour before, produced the entire scene, demonstrating the symmetrical editing of every scene. The courtroom was real, the jury captivated, and the dividing line between life and TV laid bare for everyone to witness. This courtroom war isn't just family grudge, it's judgment on the reality TV industry. It also brings to the forefront the question of where storytelling crosses over to defamation. Christine and Janelle are betting that the jury will conclude that line wasn't so much breached as it was destroyed by a bulldozer, reducing their lives and reputations to shreds in the name of ratings and personal gain. And now, for the very first time ever, the world just may get to see the absolute truth behind the scripted melodrama. The screen monitors in the courtroom again flickered, Cody and Robyn this time standing in the kitchen. Lighting was natural, sounds of the house around them the ambience. Robyn whispered hastily, "If you tell Christine that I was the one who turned down the trip to Utah, she'll get the children against me. She'll think that I'm keeping her from being with her family. You have to make it look like your choice. You have to be the bad guy for my sake." Cody nodded, "You're right. I'll do it. I will couch this as a matter of family unity." The courtroom was in stunned silence. The jury with wide eyes stared at each other. This wasn't a reality show, it was reality actually being manipulated in real time on television by the individuals there. Davies, Janelle's attorney, let the silence linger for an instant before proceeding with an iron tone to her voice. "Brown," she maintained, "does this not represent evidence that you not only wrote the story but actually conspired with your husband to write it? To be a victim and Ms. Christine Brown the perpetrator, all for the sake of a television show?" Robyn's voice cracked. "I was just defending my family, my children," she stammered. It's not what it appears." Davies would not stand down. "Protecting your family, or protecting your reputation? You educated your husband on what to say, how to word the dispute so you'd be innocent. You concocted a falsehood, then allowed editors to send it off to millions, knowing it would ruin Ms. Brown's reputation. Is that just living your life?" Robyn's eyes misted over with tears, the same tears that viewers had seen time and again. "This is a nightmare," she whispered. "You're twisting everything." But the jury had already seen the raw footage, and the twist wasn't in the lawyer's question. It was in the edit. The lawyers then unleashed a vicious montage of distortions. They depicted the nanny scandal. On air, Christina's emotional response seemed jealous and out of control. The Raw interview, however, contained a 20-minute discussion in which Christine clearly laid out to Cody why it was hypocritical to police rules on her own kids but not a nanny who came and went as she pleased. It wasn't jealousy, it was sense, sanity, and sadness. The show had turned a mother's appeal into a cartoon. And then Cody's testimony. In direct testimony, he portrayed himself as beleaguered patriarch beset by a dysfunctional household. We filmed hundreds of hours. Editors have to assemble the narrative. I had 3 wives fighting my authority and 1 loyal wife. That was reality, he said. To himself, he felt that he was the author of the emotional truth of the tribe. But Christina's attorney, Mr. Chen, came to the stand with restrained precision. Chen lined up a broadcast montage of Cody confessing that he had a poor relationship with his sons, Garrison and Gabriel. We have no relationship, Cody confessed in the montage, pulling out alienation. Then Chen lined up raw footage of the same week, Cody laughing at Garrison as they tinker with a car, calming Gabriel in a quiet conversation on the porch. The contrast was heart-wrenching. Chen piped up, none of this, the mentoring, the humor, the support, aired. Instead, millions were fed your story, that your sons were disrespectful and you had no relationship. You embarrassed your own children on national television to fit your story. Emotional sincerity, or self-serving dishonesty, Cody stuttered, flushed. You're twisting things. Those were moments. The overall atmosphere. Chen interrupted him. Then you're saying that you and, it grew tense in the courtroom as Mr. Chen questioned Cody, your producers, including Ms. Robyn Brown, decided to show only tension, hiding on purpose moments of love, of closeness, of pride in being a parent. You chose to show the story of a dysfunctional family, even when you had footage of an as-yet functioning family, still bonding. You chose the ugliest version of the truth, worsened it further by cutting it up, and peddled it as fact. Isn't that a fair synopsis? Cody was busted. Any reaction would convict him. He was no longer patriarch in command, now he was a witness falling apart under his own video. The emotional balance of the trial, however, was Christine and Janelle. When Christine testified, she did not cry or rage. She testified with reserved, profound melancholy, speaking of the ordeal of seeing her life manipulated on TV. It was like being gaslighted by my own life, she testified, her voice heavy with emotion. I'd have a reasonable conversation, express my feelings, and months later, see it on TV cut to pieces with menacing music. My words had been lifted from wholly different contexts in order to try to make me sound bitter. Christina's attorney presented a slideshow of social media posts and tabloid headlines, a hail of online invective directed at the character the show had created. Isabel should be ashamed to have a mother who was more concerned with her vanity than with her father's health, one read. Christina's voice shook as she addressed him, my daughter, hurt, read that, all on account of a lie. A television lie that your father helped perpetuate. You were implicated. You confirmed the lie in your confessionals. You killed my reputation, the integrity of 6 of your children's mother, on national TV. That's a trust that he'll never understand. Janelle's narrative was compelling also, but on pragmatic grounds. She presented evidence of financial harm, lost sponsorship prospects, lost business ventures, her own brand of self-sufficiency and fiscal responsibility systematically destroyed. For years, I showed that you could be a plural family member and be independent. The one Cody and Robyn constructed portrayed me as slack, RV-dwelling, worthless. Reality? I was fiscally conservative, protected our children, and eliminated mutual debt. They didn't just attack my character, they attacked my professionalism and my ability for outside-the-show revenue. The last arguments told a stark contrast between real life and make-believe. Cody and Robyn's lawyer had claimed that this was reality television, dismissing the raw footage as junk shots. Davies, representing Christine and Janelle, walked slowly in front of the jury. For 10 years, Cody and Robyn argued they were showing the truth about their family and faith. What you've seen in this courtroom proves otherwise. They weren't interested in truth. They were interested in their story, a story with heroes and villains. To make it so, they demonized Christine and Janelle, the females who built this household. The facts are clear. It was not good television. This was an intentional, multi-year public humiliation. They did not just edit words, they edited lives. The jury took no day to come back with a definitive verdict, guilty on all charges of libel, slander, defamation, and tortious interference. The judge addressed the court. The defendants were not just players in a reality show. They were the brains behind a defamatory lie, leveraging their power to collectively besmirch the reputations of their adversaries. The harm is incalculable. The court imposed on Christine and Janelle a historic verdict of $3 million, $2 million in compensatory damages for reputational and economic harm, and $1 million in punitive damages. It was not justice for Christine and Janelle, it was the restoration of their truth, their dignity, and their history. The courtroom gasped as the verdict hit home. Facing a second, perhaps catastrophic lawsuit and the public relations horror of open discovery, TLC quickly entered into settlement talks. To avoid having to take the case to court, the network capitulated to plaintiffs' demands. They would issue a public apology to Christine and Janelle in a statement released and, as an unprecedented concession, produce and air a 2-hour Sister Wives special. This show would present the uncensored, unedited videotape that was at the heart of the case and the versions presented on television, a public vindication of the record, a TV vindication. The victory was triumphal. Christine and Janelle came out of the courthouse and did not appear to be victorious, they appeared relieved. Public misrepresentation for decades was finally at an end. Christine addressed the media, her voice firm and unshakable. For a long time, we never had our own truth. Today, we took it back. It was never about the money. It was about taking back our names. Janelle added, "We want the world to know that the women they saw were intelligent, reasonable, loving mothers trying to do the best for their children. That's who we really are." We're grateful the jury was finally able to realize that. The raw footage Reckoning special premiered 3 months later to historic viewership numbers. At last, the world heard it all. People who had once publicly condemned now flooded the social media with apologies. "I just watched the Sister Wives special and I am horrified," one of them wrote. "I owe Christine Brown a huge apology. She wasn't angry, she was being gaslit." Undefined we all were. Overnight, public perception shifted. Christine and Janelle were no longer acting bitter ex-wives, they were survivors, totally vindicated of the wicked roles they had been pressured into acting. YYSTYP It was the ultimate reclamation of their story. The ultimate judgment, a verdict condemning guilty the multi-year, multi-million-dollar path of public slander perpetrated on the same family they had helped to fabricate. The truth, long at last, became known.